And welcome back. Here we are at the Los Angeles Athletic Club. My name is Dave Vincent alongside David Fink. This is the men's quarterfinals. Andy Nett versus Luis Moreno. This is a 4 o'clock match getting off at 4:52 here.
Only about 4 of those delayed minutes, Dave, are these players' faults. They could have started at about 4:48. Andy Nett seems to have a routine, though, Dave. Just before the match is about to start, he just disappears for about 3 minutes. It's a ritual that I've noticed. I know that you keep track of people tying their shoes and various other neuroses, but Andy Nett warms up, he's ready to play, and then he's gone. I'm not sure where he goes. We may put, Dave, one of our interns on that job and see if they can't follow him and report back to us. Now, we only have 3 interns with us here this week. They're all receiving school credit, actually, in their
all 3 of them are in love with Andy Nett, so they're not going to be scoffing at a new assignment. And just 2 of the 3 are female. So
just so Miss Chandler isn't offended, Andy Nett does not even know they exist.
That's right. They're in the crowd right now, actually trying to look for Andy. Andy Nett, like Eric Hilgren, who also likes to go to the 3rd floor moments
they call that
before
going on walkabout in Australia. I know, Dave, that you've got a lot of your very, very good friends from the land down under watching and loving this handball action from the LAAC. Race stop number 7. Both these guys, Dave, have already qualified for Seattle. Luis Moreno comes into this match as the #1 ranked player, the undisputed #1 on the Race for 8 Pro Tour, winning 4 out of the first 6 stops. You could kind of say, Dave, that those 4 out of 6 wins came out of nowhere. Luis has been a staple on the Pro Tour for about 4 or 5 years, Dave. Since he's been 17 or 18 years old, we've seen flashes of brilliance from him, but I don't think anyone could have expected Luis coming out this season and just totally dominating, but that's what's happened.
This is the WPH Simple Green Race for 8. It's a qualifier, 7 tournaments qualifying for the last chance to get into the Seattle Players Championship, and here's the announcement from Luis Cordova.
Today, serving first is Luis Moreno from Arizona, and receiving serve Andy Nett from Minnesota.
Handball truly is a game of inches because, remember, Dave, Luis Moreno played Sean Lenning in the semifinals of the Jake Plummer event, where he was trailing 9-6 in the tiebreaker to 11. That was in traditional scoring. Sean Lenning hit himself with a second serve, giving Luis Moreno the serve back, and Luis Moreno rallied from 6-9. Now, if Luis Moreno loses that match, Dave, does he still go on to win 3 of the next 5 pro stops? Who knows? This game's so much about confidence. And I'm actually going to go ahead and predict an upset here today with the Minnesota Dreamboat sailing away, cruising down the Pacific Ocean with a win in his back pocket.
Well, the Dreamboat did look good earlier today, and he gets that point with that rollout with his right hand. He said Moreno is very difficult to play because he hits the ball as hard as me, but he puts a wrinkle on it. I think it hurts these tall guys to face a guy like Luis who throws those wrinkles into the action, because the tall players will set up early and plant their feet, and the smaller guys are a little bit more nimble. And Luis Moreno hits that serve right into the floor, so don't need to worry about the wrinkle.
Well, it did have a little bit of wrinkle after it hit the floor and then the front wall. You saw that ball jump.
You can see some of these hop artists are trying to get that reverse. They'll go over the top of the ball, and because you go over the top, you push it right into the floor.
What's impressive about Andy Davis, he played a very difficult match earlier today, and he's come out here with the same amount of velocity later in the day. And you know, Dave, that's not easy to do. That's why a lot of these starting pitchers can only go 6 innings, because a lot of times you only have a finite number of swings in you.
Not if you're using analogies that include the collegiate nationals. That's okay for the finalists to have 9 matches under their belt, and others to only have 4.5.
Actually, if you're referring to Martin Mulkerns, which I think you are,
4 serves
he
3.
only played 3 doubles matches. 2 of those were against questionably D2 or D3 teams in which he didn't really do anything. One of those doubles
5
matches
serves 3.
was a challenging match, so I will concede that he played 1 extra match than
Okay.
Daniel Cordova, and I will give you that. I know that's big.
It is big. Luis Moreno serving here.
6
Andy
serves
Nett,
3.
6-3 is the score. We have a great camera angle of that wrinkle that Luis puts on the serve. Luis is easily the most popular player on the Pro Tour. Has fans in every single city. He came in here on Tuesday, and he was rooming with yours truly, and
4 serves
I haven't
6.
seen him. He said that he has some friends that he's going to hang with. And then he went out to dinner with another set of friends, and, you know, he had to sign autographs. Very few times do you go to the airport and actually sign autographs. But Luis did do that at the airport, he said. He said, you won't believe this, but I actually signed an autograph at the airport. I actually do believe
you
it.
sign autographs at the airport, so it's not all that surprising.
Well, that was actually the TSA making
7
me
serves
sign that
4.
release form after the incident in Saratoga.
I was actually
Point.
talking about when I made you buy me lunch, and you had to sign your autograph on the credit card receipt.
8 serves 4.
That's true, it happened then too. 8-4 score here, first game.
Difference between you and I, though, is when you buy me lunch, I say
Point.
thank you.
Well, I buy so much that when you buy me a lunch, I feel it's sort of
9
fruitless
serves
to say
4.
thank you. It's almost
Oh.
like it's a given that it should happen at least
Short.
once. That was short.
He
Ball
appealed.
was
I called it short.
grossly naturaled.
Alan agrees, he disagrees. So if you
I'm not
disagree,
sure
you
that
have to go with
catchphrase is going to catch
One
on.
agrees.
It might.
Second serve.
It was grossly naturaled.
You could see a
Alan,
lot of players at their clubs talking about grossly naturaled serves. I know a
Second
lot of
serve.
club players, Dave, tune into every match, not only to follow their favorite players, but they're trying to improve their games too by watching these top pros in action.
10 serves 4.
And Dave, the playoffs that have traditionally been all dark matches, as you see Luis just crushing these balls with his left hand.
Look how hard Luis is hitting this ball.
The playoffs, Dave, will be played tomorrow at noon, both for 5th and 9th. And those very well may be webcasted, Dave.
Cut out.
And then there will be a junior clinic following the playoffs, which will start at about 1:30.
5 serves 10.
Now, earlier we spoke with Emmett Pachot, who said his shoulder hurts, that he re-injured his shoulder and he will not take part in the playoffs. So, going to have to write that one down. Pachot is scratching all of his playoff matches.
So Charlie Shanks then
6
moves
serves
on to the
10.
finals of the 9th place playoff. And a lot of people, Dave, asked me where are the draws for these playoffs. And there will be posted tonight on the message board, and I'm sure that you'll post those in an email blast also. You'll tweet them. You'll email them.
I was thinking about putting them on Yelp and my favorite social network site, Bevo.
7 serves 10.
7 serves 10. I know your favorite social network site is Adult Friend Finder. But that's a paid account, and I usually don't like to bring those up because I'm not here to help solicit.
Well, I am
11
in the
serves
business
7.
to find friends. Right now I'm holding steady at
Point.
0. I've resisted a couple of overtures because I've just gotten so
12
comfortable
serves 7.
with that goose egg in my friend column. And you know, Dave, when you get comfortable, you just want to stick to that routine.
When is this ball going to break? That's the question. Not if, but when.
Well, I think the bigger question is when are we going to talk about this match? It hasn't happened yet.
It's the most exciting play we've seen so far in this tournament.
Yet,
8
we're
serves
talking
12.
about Adult Friend Finder.
He serves 12. Andy Nett serving to the left.
That's an amazing shot there, and he actually holds his hand like a paddle there, Dave. It's almost as though he's
13 serves 8.
is using a paddle. His hand is completely flat there. His wrist doesn't break at all.
Point.
And he just guides that ball down the line, and he smacks it. So he actually uses the velocity
Timeout,
of the Andy Nett
Score is
serve
14, serving 8.
and directs it right back down that left side wall. And let's take an instant replay, Dave, of that paddle kill on the return of serve from
I don't
Luis
know
Moreno.
if we can go back and get that. That's 2 rallies. That's 2 points back. Let's can that idea back to our spiritual guru, Linda Manning, who is working overtime right now, doing everything, all the switching and putting up that scoreboard and keeping this world at peace. She's doing her hard work over here. We appreciate what Linda Manning is doing. One of our major sponsors up on the wall, Far West Meats. Now, you see those guys at the U.S. Open every single year. Home of the hot links.
They're not cooking tofu out there.
Let's go back and look here.
This was actually not the play, but this is a good play to watch. Look at that agility from Luis Moreno. And Andy Nett drives the ball into the ground. That's one of the few opportunities you'll have with the ball moving that slowly against Luis Moreno, as he just flipped it up back to the front wall.
Wait a second. This is the replay now because
this is not because
nope.
Tucson.
No, this I'm talking about the return of serve from Luis Moreno, so I knew that wasn't the replay. It was a return of serve paddle kill off an Andy Nett left wall crack
Well,
serve.
if we replay the whole match, it will be the replay. That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree with you. The
So
problem is if we play it in this super slow motion, we may never get there.
Linda Manning knows what she's doing.
And that's a
14
strange
serves
shot
8.
there from Luis. Sets up Andy there, and we'll never know.
Well, we do know that that technically was the replay. We're just not going to be able to see it in its entirety. I'm with Linda Manning on this.
Over.
Good call there from our referee. I've realized, Dave, that unless you're playing in Alvarado, the crowd only claps
14
for a
serves
player
8.
calling a double bounce or the referee's calls. It's the culture.
Well, if you had friends and
Thank
family
you.
that
Point.
loved you, you'd probably get
Side out.
claps and applauses.
Hmm.
And you don't know what's going on back home in Pittsburgh.
9
They could
serves
be
14.
texting and social networking every time you make a great shot. You can't hear it, but it is happening. And sure, that might be that occasional, bad sportsmanship when Naughty mishits a ball and swings and misses, and they say nasty things about him
15
via
serves
text
9.
message. But it could be happening.
Yeah.
Now, you get to
Short.
hear all of those things because you're here, and so are all
Second
of those
serve.
people saying those things when you missed your ball and they clapped. Well, that could be happening in reverse, just over satellite.
Satellite Hector. Beautiful revolving door shot from Andy Nett. Lets that ball come out far
10
enough in front of
10
himself
serves
so he can drive
15.
it back down the right.
Score here is 10-15. Andy Nett serving first game.
Short.
Short ball called.
Short.
Andy's going to appeal this.
Short. He appeals. One agrees.
And remember, Dave,
both
these guys
agree.
played in the quarterfinals
serve.
in Tucson at race stop number 3, and Andy Nett losing 2 very close games, 21-20 in the second game. That was traditional scoring at Tucson race stop number 3. I think this is a good matchup for Andy Nett, although we remember, Dave, the first few times that these guys played when Andy Nett was just coming up as a pro,
Side out.
Luis Moreno just crushing Andy Nett. I mean, we saw some 21-1, 21-2
16
matchups
serves
between these
10.
guys, but it shows you just how much Andy Nett has improved.
Point.
17-10 is the score here.
And we see these young guys, Dave, coming up like a Martin
17 serves
Garcia
10.
or a George Garcia, guys that don't have the experience playing at this level, and it's just impossible, Dave, to play against these top guys without that top pro level tournament
17
experience.
serves 10.
Well, Dave, you see it all the time. There's good players and then there's elite players. And you can tell who the elite players are.
Side out.
See, Andy Nett's on that cusp of wanting to break in. So is Charlie Shanks. At times he is an elite player,
11
and then all of a
serves
sudden he
17.
seems like he backs out of it.
Well, Charlie Shanks was an elite player during the first 3 stops of this race season. He did advance to the semifinals in race stop number 5 in Atlanta, Dave, but I think that result was a little misleading because he beat Dave Chapman there in the quarterfinals, and that was a clearly hobbled Dave Chapman, a Dave Chapman that was really just a shell of his greatness. So I'm not sure that Charlie necessarily
18 serves 11.
reestablished that elite status there in Atlanta.
Point.
But certainly Dave Charlie in the last two events falling in the first round. Shocking when you think, Dave, that he was 2 points away from winning the U.S. Open and $10,000 that comes with it.
Actually, it was 15,000.
Wow.
Look at that flat roll from Luis Moreno.
And that actually was a flat rollout from Luis Moreno.
20 serves 11.
In prime time, Dave. Here we've got the blonde bombshell, Alan Garner, seated fourth here. He has yet to play a match, taking on local favorite and former top 5 pro, Marcos Chavez, who doesn't travel much to tournaments anymore, Dave. We only see him about once a year. But when he plays, he is in that elite status. He doesn't have the elite ranking because he doesn't participate, but Alan Garner, you could really say, drawing the short end of the stick. But let's not forget, Marcos Chavez, Dave, has already played 3 matches. Alan Garner has yet to step on the court. Alan Garner is actually on vacation. He said, I'm out here with my wife and my brother, and I'm just having a good time. So we'll see if he can flip that switch from vacation mode, Dave, to handball mode. I know, Dave, that you go in the court with your blazer and dress shoes and play just about as well as you play in your full gear. You've got that ability, though, that elite ability.
Point.
A lot of players go into the court and they worry about their shirt size. And
23 serves 11.
I only have one worry in this entire life, and that's where is my next meal coming from? And by next meal, I mean the 6 or 7 that I'm going to eat from this point forward.
Game point serves 11.
In the, I'd say, 700 days we've spent together, 24 hours a day during all 700 of those, I've never seen you eat more than me in any one of those days.
Hold it.
And that's a fact.
It's true.
I've actually not seen you eat even a half of what I eat.
Second serve.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't really understand it. What's
Me neither.
the explanation for that?
And Luis Moreno cracks out the serve to take the first game. We're going to take a timeout. We'll be back. Stay here. Race48.com. And we are back for game number 2. This is the men's quarterfinals. Luis Cordova is the referee here. Andy Nett versus Luis Moreno. Luis Moreno is our race leader as well as our power rankings leader. Nett ready to serve. This is the WPH Simple Green Race for 8. As the referee Cordova is lining up the line judges at the moment. These are one of those delays we don't mind necessarily.
I just did avoid a big fine there, Dave, for missing the first rally of the second game, but fortunately there was a little delay there with the line judges.
The rules here are if you're not here with the headset on for the first opening rally, you get docked pay and you're replaced immediately by an intern.
That's
so
true.
You're actually lucky. And the bad thing is the interns are good, so you could lose your job permanently. This could be the Wally Pip of broadcasting. Now you're calling for an upset, but Luis Moreno did not allow that to happen as he won 25-11, and he looks really sharp.
Well, I have to stick with my guns here because I'd hate to hedge. I don't hedge.
Two serves, 1.
I believe, Dave, that look at that power from Luis, and even more power. But I believe the referee, Dave, should call the score as soon as the point ends. Right now.
And then wait 10 seconds? Is that what you're saying?
No, and then the
3 serves, 1.
The server then should wait until the receiver is set in a reasonable amount of time. There's a strange get there. But you don't see, Dave, in baseball, the umpire calling 3 and 2 just as the pitcher's waiting on the mound. It disrupts your rhythm a little bit, waiting for the cadence from the referee because each referee has a different cadence. So you find yourself frozen there for, 1 or 2 seconds, and it really does throw off your rhythm. I know you're saying I'm being a little bit neurotic, but I believe, Dave, the servers should be able to go in there at their own pace and not have to wait for the call of the referee.
I'm actually writing that down on my neuroticism notebook that I keep from all the players.
5 serves, 2.
Just another reference from you that makes the list.
Who's leading that list?
You.
Okay.
Point.
At least I'm winning at something.
When I get up there to serve, not
6 serves,
like
2.
I've played much handball, just for about 30-something years. I just bounce it until the referee calls the score, and then I go and serve it. To me, it makes no difference
That's
whatsoever.
a good idea. I like that.
Just bounce the ball, and that keeps me focused on what I'm going to do.
7 serves, 2.
I like that.
I don't go up there and stand and wait for the ref. I just bounce it until he calls the score, and then I take a breath and serve it. I don't care if he wants to take longer time. It gives me more time to cover.
Point.
There was some contact there, not called by the referee.
You see on a ball that gets behind Luis Moreno, he doesn't flip it into the back wall, Dave. He just moves his feet a little bit faster and actually takes the ball with a traditional swing. And that's an amazing shot from Luis. But, Dave, instead of flipping into the back wall, which is a huge setup for your opponent, he gets his feet behind the ball and throws the ball back up high.
9 serves, 2.
A two-wall type of shot that neutralizes. I see a lot of players going to that back wall flip, and it's a good get. But it's a huge setup almost every time for your opponent unless you get really lucky. And a lot of times that shot's not necessary.
10 serves, 2.
10-2 score here. Luis looks really good right now. He's just rolling along.
Absolutely amazing is
serve.
really the only word for it. And, there was some discussion, Dave, on the message board that if Luis Moreno played if Luis Moreno played Paul Brady 10 times, some people believe that Luis would win 7 of those matchups. At first, Dave, I scoffed at that notion. But watching Luis now, I think that while he wouldn't win 7, I think he would win at least a few of those matchups. I believe if Paul Brady played in all 8 of these stops, Dave, and matched up 6, 7, or 8 times against Luis Moreno, that you'd see Luis win at least 2 or 3 of those matches. I truly believe that, particularly here in rally scoring, where Luis has become comfortable in rally scoring. It's a little bit of a different strategy, Dave, for guys that haven't played it before.
But I think rally scoring would actually benefit a guy like Paul Brady.
He has
a fast
that consistency.
worker. He's very consistent. He would get points on return of serve, which he doesn't seem to struggle at. Those that struggle with return of serve aren't winning at rally scoring. Luis Moreno has a good return of serve. He's been coached by the great Fred Lewis, who was one of the best return of serve artists in the game. Luis Moreno back in the server's box here, where
12 serves 3.
It'd
Seems
be
very
interesting, Dave, to
comfortable.
talk to the players, none of whom talk to us. But if their strategy changes at all, playing rally scoring, I find, Dave, in my matches when I'm playing, there's certain shots that I would go for when I'm serving, knowing that if I miss it, that it's only going to be a side out. But when you're playing rally scoring, those same shots I wouldn't necessarily go for the kill because I know I'm just going to give my opponent a point if I miss the shot.
Well, Nadia Alvarado just brought that up just a few, I don't know, maybe an hour ago or so to me, about how he normally would go for balls when he's returning serve that in traditional scoring that he's not doing now because he doesn't want to lose a point. So he said he has to tell himself to go for it and still be aggressive. And he said it adds more pressure, makes the game more tighter while you're playing. He feels like every shot that you make is an intense shot, as opposed to the way traditional scoring is, where you can kind of loaf for the first half and then put the afterburners on, which a lot of players kind of played that way for many years.
Well, I agree, and I think that's the reason you see these guys so tired in rally scoring is because every point is so important. You can't loaf at all in rally scoring. So even though you might be playing half as many rallies, you feel like you're twice as tired because you're putting so much into every shot. And there's so much stress involved with every shot. And this, Dave, has really become a huge blowout, 15-3 in rally scoring. We'll run that down.
Thank you.
And then he calls 2 bounces. Took the ball between his legs and flipped it up there. Match coming up after this one will be Alan Garner and Marco Chavez closing out the night with really one of the best matchups of the day.
Last time they played, Dave, was in Tucson.
16
Alan Garner winning that match in 2 close games. I believe that was 2 years ago, Dave. As we said, Marcos doesn't travel to a lot of events, and Alan Garner doesn't travel to LA for their Waif Reisner LAAC Open events, so the two really don't have an opportunity to match up very often. But that match, Dave, that they played a couple of years ago in Tucson was very competitive.
Nice, powerful shot right there from Luis Moreno, and he looked back at the ref because ref didn't call the score quick enough. He wanted to know immediately, did I do enough to get a point there? When you see Luis Moreno going to the left and to the right with his serves, Dave, you know he's feeling completely comfortable. Now Andy's trying to close off some of those angles and steps up. Ends up getting the side out. Andy might want to think about playing up front like that against Luis. If you play too far to the back wall, Luis will get you on one of those hop serves.
5
You're
serves,
saying
18.
play a little bit farther up on the return of serve.
Right. If you play too far back, Luis will get you.
And
if you
Luis
play too
takes
far
that
up,
serve, Dave, that was a pretty good serve, hit in the mid-80s, and just drills it with just as much interest coming back.
19
See
serves,
most
5.
guys, Dave, going to more of a scoop return there, but Luis just blasts the ball as hard as he can hit it.
you see how Andy's, that ball sounded like it broke.
You see Luis actually comes over that with a fist. He wants that ball to pop into the side wall because that pops away from Andy and behind him. If he straightens that shot out, Dave, there's a good chance Andy can run it down. So it's amazing the court awareness that Luis has on a shot like that. And there's Andy going with a fist return. You don't see Andy hitting too many fists. But now he's more or less in desperation mode.
6 serves, 20.
See where Luis Moreno plays compared to Andy.
Out.
Just an amazing return there for Luis. Skinny V with the left hand from the right side of the court.
21 serves, 6. Short.
You watch Luis Moreno play and you remember watching Paul Brady play, and you're not sure if you have your goggles on or not, your handball goggles, but it just seems like we're seeing a matchup in the making that
Point.
could very well happen at the Nationals in June, because you almost feel like they would be on a crash
22,
course to
serve
play each
6.
other in the finals.
But you said, Dave, that Luis Moreno's not going to the Nationals. He didn't go last year.
And he didn't go last year.
Point.
I just hope that he does. That's all I can say. But just watching him athletically, he just seems
23, serve 6.
unbelievably gifted right now. Just like that feeling I get when I watch Paul play. I think Luis makes more mistakes than Paul Brady does. And that could be the difference.
Point.
Look how automatic he looks right now, Dave.
Match
Here it is.
point, serve 6.
Match.
And this is the
And
type
game.
of matchup we saw between these guys a couple of years ago when Andy Nett was trying to break into the pro tour. Just took a couple of really
Second
bad
serve.
beatings from Luis Moreno. Seemed to have figured out how to be a little bit more competitive with Luis in their last matchup, but today it's
Match.
Luis just completely dominating.
25-11, 25-6. Luis Moreno takes game 1 and 2. Coming up next, it's going to be Marco Chavez and Alan Garner in less than 10 minutes. Stay here at racefor8.com.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
We are different. Society should aspire to be more like us.
Be part of the first class. Get energized. Get outside.
Hold on, guys. It's gonna get bumpy.
And get moving. Experience the power of physical activity. Join the movement at ActionHeroAlliance.com. Really?
Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.